Please, can you hear me out, please? Can you just listen to me, please?
Cindy slept with her ex-boyfriend for money to save her husband from dying, but he threw her out when he found out about her sexual intercourse with her ex-boyfriend. Cindy dated her ex-boyfriend for 2 years, but he dumped her, and she got married to her husband a year later. Cindy and her husband loved each other very much. They made a promise never to cheat on each other with another man or woman until death did them apart. Before Cindy's husband got sick, their marriage was filled with happy moments. They traveled to different places, enjoying vacations that strengthened their bond. Cindy and her husband often spent weekends together, visiting family and close friends. They supported each other's dreams. Cindy helped her husband grow his business, while he encouraged her to follow her passion for fashion designing. They attended events together, danced at parties, and enjoyed quiet evenings, watching movies at home. Despite their happiness, Cindy's husband faced some financial struggles in his business. He was working tirelessly to ensure they lived comfortably. Cindy often worried about his health, as he barely took breaks and had constant headaches. She encouraged him to visit the hospital, but he always brushed it off, saying he would be fine. Cindy also had personal concerns. Her mother had fallen ill, and she had been managing medical expenses along with their household needs. After 2 years, Cindy's husband was struck by a strange illness that morning while he was taking his breakfast. Cindy rushed him to the hospital, and after the doctor ran a test on him, he confirmed that his kidney needed to be replaced within a week, or another story that would bring tears would come. The doctor said that the amount to be deposited for the treatment was a whopping sum of 20 million naira. If not, he would not do anything about it. Cindy started looking for the money because she loved her husband and would not stand and watch him die. She went to various places, friends of hers and friends of her husband, for help, and they helped as much as they could. She was able to raise 13 million naira and is selling out their properties. Cindy went back to the hospital for them to commence the surgery, but the doctor said no, that he would not collect the money unless it was complete. Cindy pleaded with him, but he refused and said that he would discharge her husband back home, as they couldn't afford the bill. Cindy ran helter-skelter to raise more money, but it was not forthcoming, and she had already lost hope. While on her way to look for where she could gather some money, Cindy's ex-boyfriend saw her and called her because, from her appearance, he knew that something was eating her up. She discussed her present condition with him, and he gave her his contact and said she should call him any time she had the chance. After a few days, Cindy called him, and he asked her to meet him one particular hotel because of her husband's condition. She went to see him to know if he could help her. When Cindy got inside his hotel room, she reprimanded him for asking her to come to a hotel where it was not good for a married woman like her to be going. He smiled and asked her to sit down first. He started reminding her of her husband's condition and said he would help her save her husband on one condition, that she sleep with him. He showed her a check of the exact amount remaining to sort out the bills. Cindy pleaded with him, saying she was married and that it was not good for them to have a sexual affair. He smiled and made fun of her, saying she had a dying husband she claimed to love but could not make a sacrifice to save him. Cindy tried to make him understand that it was not good to do that with him because she and her husband had vowed never to cheat after their marriage, but he paid deaf ears to her views. Cindy turned down the offer and went home, crying and asking God to save her husband's life. Cindy's friend came after a few days and asked her if her ex-boyfriend had finally agreed to help her. Cindy narrated everything that transpired when she met him. Her friend pleaded with her to do it for the sake of her husband's life, which was in danger. After thinking about it, Cindy did it and saved her husband. A few days later, her ex-boyfriend sent her a video recording of her affair with him. He threatened her that he would circulate it, if she did not agree to sleep with him any time he wanted. Cindy begged him not to mess with her reputation, because she did it against her will to save her husband's life, and that he should not use that to destroy their marriage. He did not stop until Cindy's husband found out and threw her out of his house, calling her all sorts of dirty names. Cindy pleaded with him, saying she never imagined doing that if not for the dirty condition they found themselves in, but he would not listen to her. She went to her friend's house with her ocean of tears. Her friend consoled her with the assurance that her husband would understand and forgive her one day. Cindy cried out of hope. Her friend went to him to talk about it, but he did not listen, including his friend. Cindy went to his office and explained everything to him, and he promised to help her beg her husband, but her husband hardened his heart to forgive her. Cindy knew that what she did was wrong, but she did it out of no choice to save him, yet he turned his back on her. While dealing with that, Cindy discovered that she was pregnant for her husband. Cindy and her friend went to her husband's house to beg him more, telling him that she was carrying his child, but he did not listen and chased them out of his house. That was when Cindy decided to end it all, because her friend's husband informed her friend that he was coming back home. He was out of the country for a few months, and Cindy had no choice but to move to another place. Cindy took her life after her ex-boyfriend threatened her more to circulate their sex tape to the world. She ran out of options other than to take her life, since her husband, whom she thought was her last hope, decided to abandon her after the shame she put herself into. For his sake, Cindy sent him the address where he would come and take her corpse with the letter she wrote for him. The news of Cindy's death spread quickly, leaving a wave of shock and sorrow behind. Her husband, upon receiving the message and finding her lifeless body, was devastated. He collapsed beside her, clutching the letter with trembling hands, tears streaming down his face as guilt consumed him. Regret clawed at his heart. He had been blinded by anger, unable to see the depth of Cindy's sacrifice. The very life she fought to save had driven her to her grave. The ex-boyfriend, who had taken pleasure in tormenting Cindy, was soon exposed. The video he threatened to release surfaced, but instead of ruining Cindy, it condemned him. Public outrage and legal actions followed, but it was too late to save Cindy from the pain he had inflicted. As Cindy's husband stood before her grave, holding their unborn child in his thoughts, he whispered, "I should have forgiven you. I should have fought for us, but some mistakes cannot be undone, and some regrets last forever."